We're back on air, guys. This is Shane Entertaining back on live. Without Billy this time, guys. Billy will have to go to work. Where is every? I'm trying to figure out why. On live. Shut your yap. You keep talking. That's me. I have to shut my mouth. Why can't I not see the going-ons of this chat? Can't seem to find. Okay, there it is. All the stuff is right there. So hey guys, how's it going? This is Shane Entertaining. Part 2. Talking about. Now this is something that I want to discuss. I might wait a bit before see if more people come on. People are probably working today, so I don't know if anyone's going to show up to this. Not a lot of people showed up to the Billy discussion, so we'll see. I started a new one because this one has to do with Rey and what I found about the character. And here's the thing: I keep hearing more and more people consistently talk about how Rey has a character, and I'm really. I mean, people can say, "Why you keep harping on about this topic?" And the topic bothers me because we've lost how to build and make good characters, and a lot of people sit here and we're talking about how to make a good character and how to build a proper story arc, and why Rey's character doesn't succeed as a character, and then you see Billy Batten from Shazam, and you're like, and you look at this character and you say he was a really well realized character. Now I know that here's the one thing that Marvel and Billy Batten have over Rey, and that's the fact that Rey was written by a director, whereas and writers in Hollywood, whereas Billy was written by a comic in the New 52 comic book, because that's where they took the story for Shazam was from the New 52 version of Shazam. Was it New 52? It's one of those, the 52 something number from Shazam. And so I know that they went pretty much almost word for word from the comic. I know they did a lot. I'm not saying it was word for word because I never read the comic, but I have heard that it was really close and faithful to the comic. There's a few differences based. I think the villain had some differences. The 7 Deadly Sins stuff had some differences. If you watch the movie, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you have no clue what the heck I'm talking about. But yeah, so there might be some spoilers in the movie. I kept the spoilers out of my review. And so if you want to watch the Shazam review, go check that out. This one might have some spoilers. We'll definitely have some spoilers because it's the only way. It's the only way to talk about a movie is you have to spoil. Actually, yes, I should have put spoilers in the bottom in the title, but whatever. I don't care. You're gonna come on, and I haven't talked anything yet, and I've told you plenty of time. You have plenty of time. There's spoilers, so there's spoilers, guys. And there's spoilers for Star Wars too, in case you still haven't watched that. So just so you know, there's some spoilers all around. But I might wait a few more minutes and just jibber jabber on for a little bit. About that. But see if some people show up. If not, then I'm just gonna carry on like a wayward son. Like Kansas says, carry on your wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. So people watching, so they're like, oh, well, before I go into that, and so I'm going to kill some time here, because I want to get into the meat and potatoes of that a little bit later. So I want a few more people to show up. What I want to talk about, I'll talk about this Liam Helsmworth stuff, because did you guys watch? I found it absolutely hilarious. I'm watching. I was watching Captain Marvel. Brie Larson in that interview from E.T. where Thor and Hemsworth and them are going at each other. I thought that was just absolutely hilarious. And we watched the full thing. It's pretty funny because just the way he gives it to her is pretty funny, and you really get the sense that there might just be a little bit of animosity. It's hard not to because she's such an unlikable person. It's funny because I know someone kind of like that in my life who's sort of, and she even looks like Brie Larson too, which kind of bothers me. But where you say one thing and you could see that there's always you got to tippy toe around them because they're just waiting to pounce and jump down your throat over everything. And him, he's just like playing with her. You can sort of see, and I like how they titled it, like as if she won that argument or that dispute. Don't come at me, bro. I like that kind of thing. Don't you come at me. I'm like, no. I thought Liam got the better of those exchanges pretty easily. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go check out that video where basically it's an interview where she was talking about how she did her own stunts, and she thought I thought that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to do your own stunts. And then he goes, this one is trying to be like Tom Cruise or something. And she's like, excuse me. I'm not trying to be anybody. I'm the first me. But what she said wasn't the problem, because I think that's kind of a thing I would have said too. But it's how she said it. It was so much sarcasm and so much like, when you say something, you can say something funny and quippy. Oh, but she says it with a chip on her shoulder, and it doesn't sound quippy. It doesn't sound like you could have said, no, I want to be the first me, right? And you could have been fine. Everyone, oh yeah, like she's got confidence. I agree with that. But instead of showing confidence, it sounds arrogant because of the way she says it. She says it in a very like, I'm going to be the first me. Thank you very much. I think that's exactly how she said it. I'm going to be the first me. Thank you very much. Like with all this attitude. It's like, dude, you'd be lucky to be anything close to Tom Cruise, okay? Like if you have a problem with Tom Cruise's personal life, that's one thing, but you can't touch his career and you can't touch the work ethic that man has and how prosperous he is. So if anyone uses your name, Brie Larson, in the same sentence as Tom Cruise, you go down on your knees and you thank your little stars that someone actually mentioned you in the same sentence as Tom Cruise, for heaven's sakes. Like, and it doesn't matter that he was a man. All that matters is that he was accomplished. You're not accomplished anything. He's accomplished. So shut up. I thought it was funny. But he had a few other things that were pretty funny. Where they mentioned about in that interview, where they mentioned about his kids and who does his kids like, and he goes, well, my kids like Wonder Woman, and then she's like, you can see her like growling on the side. So Thor says his kids like Wonder Woman better than Captain Marvel. They haven't even seen her movie yet. That's just like exactly what he says. I'm like, I'm lying. I'm just dying on the floor going, he's legitimately just taking the piss out of her. And I'm just like, and just seeing her anger in her face, but she doesn't hold it well, right? You can see that in her face that she just gets very angry. And you just see his face. And it's just funny because they only shot the clip where she snaps back at him, and like as if that was some way, like that really sound like. But if you go through the whole exchange, he really like that. My kids like Wonder Woman better. This is Thor. He's from Marvel, and he says his kids like more. I mean that shows you something. Either that was a whole planned routine that they did, which I don't think so because of both of their reactions. Because she was all. The fact that he said my kids didn't even watch your movie. I'm sorry. That's just a tangent because I'm waiting for people to show up, and people have showed up. So now we can start. We can get on with the show. This is it. I remember that Tiny Luna with the Looney Tunes. Overture, turn the lights. This is it. The night hit the heights. I don't know, something. Let's hear on with the show. Drink some beer. I don't think that's how it goes. We're changing it for my video, for my show. So, guys, yeah, I'm going to get on to the meat and potatoes of this thing. That was my little take on Brie Larson's interview with things. So I'm going to probably put that on the I'm going to edit my title and probably sneak that in there somehow. But yeah, no, I wanted to talk about that because that was just hilarious. I just think there's got to be animosity going on behind the scenes there. Anyway, this is not about that. This is about Star Wars versus Shazam. And it's kind of weird. Why would I pit Star Wars versus Shazam? It doesn't make any sense. Gee, what's going on? Have you finally cracked up? Yes, I have finally cracked up. But the truth of the matter is, why are people texting me during my darn thing? The truth of the matter is there is a lot of similarities between the character of Shazam and Billy Batson and the character of Rey. and how one succeeds where the other one fails. And I think that's something that we should point out here, because it's very rare that we see two characters with the exact same motivation and exact same things kind of happen to them in two, similar kinds of movies where they both become the chosen one. And you see how both were handled completely different. So I'm just going to say the similarities. So this is where it goes. Well, we'll start with Rey, as we all know Rey. Oh, actually, I'm going to start with Shazam. Let's start there, because people may not have watched Shazam, and so, like I said, if you guys don't know, there might be some spoilers. So here we go. So we'll start with Billy Batten's character. Where Billy Batten, first of all, they start with the villain and his backstory. In his backstory, there's a car that's driving in Christmas time, and it's in the winter road. And he's distracting because he's got this 8-ball that this little kid, by the way, is like, I think he's 10 or something. And he's like shaking his ball and he's asking questions. And his parents in the front and his brother are kind of giving him a hard time. They're giving him the business. And, they're talking to him like calling him out, saying he's, you're useless. Shut up. Just really being really mean to this kid. You can tell they don't like him. They think he's whiny and stuff. So he distracts them. And through this whole interaction, he gets sent somehow through this tunnel, like his mind kind of goes into some like another alternate dimension during this drive, and he ends up in the cave where the wizard Shazam is there and puts him to the test to see where his heart is, and if he's evil, if he could be good, or if he could be trusted with the power. He proves he can't be trusted because he gets offered even more power by evil creatures that were hidden. They were called the 7 deadly sins in that cavern. They offer him greater power, and he goes to take the greater power instead of the Shazam power. And then Shazam says, "You failed. Get back." And then he gets back to the car, kind of like this thing where he just wakes up back into a car, like out of a dream sequence. They don't know he's even left, and then he freaks out at that. Where was? Where I was? Oh my God! Blah blah blah. He makes this big scene about where he was. They don't believe him. That distracts them. They get into a car accident. The father ends up in a wheelchair. Brother, they hate him even more. That's his motivation. And after that, the magic 8-ball that he had says, I think the creatures that were in the cavern start talking to them and say, please show me, you come find us. So that's his motivation. Now you have this kid who, basis of this kid is he hates his parents don't really care about him, or his father doesn't really care about him. There's this animosity. He wants approval from his family, doesn't have it. So he seeks out revenge against his family. He wants more power. That's his story. Now let's go on to Billy Batten here, and this is where it's more important, because the reason why I'm starting off with the villains, because with every great character and every great hero, you have to have a great villain. You can't. I think that's where you had Luke Skywalker and you have Darth Vader. You have to have the equal parts of a great villain and a great hero. They have to rise at the same time, and I kind of like that idea, and this is what they did. Whereas Rey rises at the same time as Kylo Ren, and it starts off okay, where Kylo Ren's pretty powerful in the beginning. You sort of like his power when he stops the thing, and he was realized that they do that okay. Now you get into Billy Batten and what he's doing. Billy Batten is abandoned. Right away you see this first scene with him and the cops, and he kind of tricks the cops into like a store where he says there was a robbery. They get into the store, and then he just locks up the store and then gets into the police car and starts looking for his parents. Now, here's the thing. Right away, you see in that first sequence, you see Billy Batten is cool. He's a badass. He's capable. He's clever. And at the same time, you see his motivation. Right away, his motivation, because he's looking for his parents in the computer, in the police car computer. So that's what he's doing. He's looking for their address, and then you find out that he's been looking for his mother, who abandoned him in a theme park years and years and years ago. And he thinks she just didn't. He actually thinks she accidentally got lost, and he went to a foster home and been in foster homes ever since. So this is a sequence where he's actually outward seeking out his parents. Now you take the first scene in Rey, and here you have So right away you see back to sorry, Billy. Right away you have this kid who is lost, who's abandoned, who is alone, who but who's actively seeking his parents, and you feel for him because you realize that he's clever because he was alone, he's had to survive, but he's also actively consistently, and that's what the running theme of this entire movie is. He's consistently seeking out his mother because he wants to know, he actually feels bad that he thought he left her, but we find out after that's not the case. But the point is that he's actively seeking out something. So we feel for the kid right away. We're relating to that kid. We're like, in his way, we're like, oh my God, this kid was abandoned. And now he's acting like what he did was wrong with the cops, but he's doing what he has to do to reach his goal, which is to find his mother. Rey, she's in the desert, abandoned by her family, and her whole time that she spends in the desert is scavenging, eating rice cakes with some water, sleeping by the tauntaun foot, and getting her portions, and that's her day, her daily routine. At no point does she look for her parents. At no point does she mention that she actually, seek her parents. She's not out there seeking information about her parents. She's not, the sequence right away. You're like, what is her motivation? We don't know. Her motivation is survival. That's it at this point. Her day-to-day survival. But she doesn't have, we're not looking at her going, okay, well, what do you want? You're just sitting here passively doing the daily routine, but you're not engaged in anything actively. You're passively, she acts like she wants her parents, but she does nothing about it, right? Where Billy gets abandoned and he's actively looking for his parent or his mother. She gets abandoned and she's like, I'm waiting for them to return. So she sits there and she's passively waiting for things to happen to her. Already, that's a fail. That's a fail of a character. We need your motivation. What is your motivation? What are you out there to achieve? What are you out there to do? And she doesn't do anything. She just passively sits by a foot, or doing things as on her daily routine. She's not actively seeking or searching anybody or anything. And so there you have that one. The comparison right away. Billy, like his whole story arc is realized at some point because he does figure out his parents, and that's a big change in his life. That's actually a moment that changes him, is when he actually does find his mother. That's a big, huge moment in the story arc of the entire movie, because that's where he realized, because his whole thing was he doesn't care about family, or he doesn't accept any other family until he could find his mother. So that's the whole thing. He wants closure with his mother, and he runs away from foster home after foster home until he can find his mother. Even when he gets his powers, he's still obsessed with his mom, and so that's like his obsession. Even once he gets bestowed the power of Shazam, like he becomes the chosen one because of his heart. She's the chosen one because of her heart, or whatever. I don't know, because of the midichlorians. I don't know. You're the chosen one, Rey. So she never actively pursues anything. You see in the continuum of this movie, you see the constant drive of his motivation, and the constant, and in her movie, she just goes along with everything. She meets Finn. Well, Finn has something to do. Let's go along with that. What are you doing here? I'm waiting for my parents. Oh no, coincidental things start happening. She's running for her life. They're shooting at her. Let's now do this. Let's now do that. Let's happen upon this adventure. Let's happen upon this adventure. But at no point, like, she gets told about Luke and about this and about that. But at no point does she actively seek out or have any motivation towards anything. See, where also similar kind of thing sort of happens to Billy when he turns into Shazam, where he goes into this actual. He actually goes to a foster home, which is really nice, and he meets this other boy who's like his best friend. He kind of accepts him, it doesn't, but you see the little boy, that other boy that was there with him, his same age, he has like a treasure trove full of superhero stuff. So this is a really good moment where he sees he's got the Batarang, he's got the he's got Superman posters and all this stuff, and he's really involved in the superheroes. And when he finds out that Shazam, or that Billy, his brother, is sort of like his foster brother, is a superhero, he's all involved in that. And so Billy and his cause kind of conjoin into the same cause. So while Billy still has his sort of side thing, now it becomes his thing, and he wraps like his cause in each other's causes. So then but they're both now motivations are being realized at the same time. Now you have Finn, who enters the scene with Rey, and he again has no cause. He doesn't have a reason to do anything. He wants to find Poe, or run away. He just wants to run away. That's his whole cause, is to run away from the. He doesn't have does he run away with secrets? Why is he running away? Like what really traumatized him? We don't know anything about Finn's character, as far as just that he didn't like what he saw, and then he runs away. So so now we have these two characters, Finn and Rey, now together, and and their causes sort of conflict. They don't really have a cause. One wants to run away, one wants to stay put. The running away actually wins, because why does the one running away win? Because they're being chased, so they have no choice but to run away. So again, circumstances force them into the Millennium Falcon, who just happens to be there. They get into the Millennium Falcon, they take off, and they just happen to find Han Solo, and then Han Solo just happens to go to Maz Kanata. Maz Kanata just happens to have the sword, and the sword just happens to give her purpose. So halfway through the movie, she finally has a purpose, and her purpose is to understand why the sword made her have all these visions. Why am I special? Why? So halfway through the movie is about the same part where Shazam actually gets his powers, where he gets bestowed the powers. Only hers kind of bestowed by the sword, and with him it's bestowed by Shazam. Now she gets her powers, and she slowly, and I mean, what I mean by she gets her powers is more like it awakens, right? The Force awakens inside of her. And so when it awakens, she now what does she do with it? Well, she gets kidnapped, and then she just sort of has this slight discomfort. And then she just sort of wills the power to awaken within her without any sort of training. Where when Shazam gets his power, he acts kind of a douche. He actually does. He acts like a bit of a douchebag. He tries to get money from his thing. He starts doing tricks for people. He buys booze. He saves some people here and there, but he does it in a reckless manner. He has there's this whole almost 80s montage sequence where he's trying to train, and his training, and that's the thing. He's a little kid with another little kid, and they're training to see the powers that he has. She doesn't train. She doesn't try to train. She doesn't try to realize anything. We already know that. That's been said 1,000 times, but that's 2 movies, and she's never really trained her power. Even Luke tried to train a little bit in the Millennium Falcon in the first movie, and she never really tries anything. We don't even get one sequence where she uses her force or anything, which is not necessarily her fault, because they didn't give her a trainer or anyone interested in helping her to train. Whereas Luke had someone interested, someone with him that was like Obi-Wan, that was interested in training him, and Shazam had the little boy who was interested in wanting to create a superhero out of Shazam, and he was pushing him to train. So they had people, but Rey didn't have anybody. Rey, and that's not the fault of Rey. That's the fault of the writer, who didn't give Rey anybody other than Maz Kanata, who was there for such a small amount of time, and otherwise nobody really was there to say you should train a little bit on your force. But no one even gave her just a little bit of push on that direction. So again, she's just sort of floundering. And then the only thing she seeks at some point is at the end of the movie, where she seeks a trainer, and that's Luke and him. So she's already back. She's like really behind in times here. She still doesn't know what her parents are. She doesn't make a push for her parents, doesn't try to look for her parents. So that's kind of a dead topic for her. It just kind of goes away. It doesn't even resurface hardly until The Force Awakens. Because it just sort of dissipates her desire to find her parents. It was just like, I was sitting here waiting for them. Now I'm just going to go out and have an adventure. And if I find them, I find them. And we kind of were okay with that, because we felt whatever. But then we find it rekindles in in the Last Jedi. So that didn't really die in her mind. It just rekindles over there. But does she actively seek it? No, she doesn't actively seek it. She doesn't actively seek her. She doesn't actively go searching for anybody. So like where Billy does. Billy actually goes and finds his parents. Well, actually with a little help from his friends, but they saw that it was important to him, and so they helped him. And which was also showing you his like not only his motivation, but the fact that there was, hang on, but the fact that there was also people who cared about him that were trying to help him find his motivation. In hers, there was no help from anybody. Finn was out doing his thing. Poe was doing his thing. Han Solo's doing their thing. And nobody was actually had any really clear-cut motivation or clear-cut goal to do really anything other than this happened to happen, this happens to happen, and this happens to happen. And then as the time went on, everything just sort of happens to happen for the story to actually unfold. And that's where I'm like, here you have two characters. Shazam is then realized he gets he actually finds his mother. And again, spoiler alert, finds his mother. 3, 2, 1. Finds out she didn't give a shit about him. Finds out that she actually abandons him. He has this really moment where this life-changing moment where it's like everything he thought about. And this goes back to the same with The Last Jedi. The same moment when what's his face? Kylo Ren tells Rey, "You're nobody. You're nobody. Your parents abandoned you, and they're nothing." It's the same sequence, except for here's the difference. Rey gets told this. She doesn't actively find her parents who tell them from the actual source. She gets told this, and then she just accepts this. You know this to be true, is what he tells her, and she looks inside and goes, "Yeah, I guess you're right." There was no payoff there. There's no face-to-face with the parents who are drunks, because that would have mattered. That would have meant something more. If you've seen her actively pursue her parents, and that was her push and her drive to find meaning and find purpose for herself. And despite the fact that she has powers and she tries to realize her powers, and then when she actively seeks to find her parents, and then when she actually finds them, instead of having some third party tell her that, well, you're nobody, and then when she finds them, she finds out that they're drunks by the mouth of the horse's mouth. We left you for drunk money, and we left you there, because we didn't like your face and your haircut, whatever they left her for. And then she just, then you have that moment where where you see her face and it matters, and that would change her, because now she has a new, maybe then she has a new purpose. But even after she gets told, well, what's my purpose? What's my purpose? The whole time she's trying to find purpose and trying to find meaning. And I know people say, well, that's Rey's story. Rey's story is that she has no purpose. But if you're saying that her story is to find purpose, and there's 2 movies in and she still hasn't found purpose, it's not an interesting story. It's like, when is she going to find her purpose? And that's the final act. She finds purpose. It's not an interesting character to follow. If a person is just devoid of purpose from the beginning, and her seeking purpose is her purpose, I understand how you could say that it would be interesting, but it isn't interesting, because in the actual what's the word I'm looking for? The actual execution of this has to be done really well, and it isn't being done really well. It is not being realized really well. The whole thing is her purpose is to find purpose, if that's her purpose. I'm saying purpose far too much, and I'm doing it on purpose. Anyway, so he again, you can't follow somebody who doesn't have any meaning, and who knows what this is, because I think again, you got 2 different writers, 2 different visions. What Rian Johnson was doing and what J.J. Abrams were doing. I think J.J. had an actual purpose in mind for her. And I think Rian Johnson said, let's give her no purpose. And then that's where it all gets convoluted, because at first it seems like she's seeking purpose, she seems like she has a purpose. And then the second movie is she has no purpose. So what does it matter for her? So here you have this empty vessel after 2 movies in a row, she's good at everything without training. That we've said 1,000 times. But what bothers me the most about her is that she doesn't have any real meaning, any real goals. Who does she side with? Who does she care about? Who does she, who does she even care about herself? Like, she wants training, but for what? To do what exactly? To defeat the First Order. But why? What is it in it for you? What do you care about? Why do you care about them? Hey, Guy Harrison. Is it Guy? I'm pretty Guy. Well, Shazam didn't kill off Superman, Shazam didn't kill. No, Shazam. No, but in the comics, didn't Superman kill Shazam at some point? Well, Shazam didn't kill off Superman. Shazam didn't. No, Superman killed off Shazam in the comics, from what I read, or from what I found out. Anyway, but yeah, and that's the thing. Like, where's Rey? Rey defeats the villain also right in the beginning too. Whereas if you watch, Billy Batson takes a beating. He actually takes several beatings in this from the villain, which made that whole ending sequence with them even so much more important, because he knows that he needed his family in order to defeat this villain. And that was also really well realized, because it goes back to his whole story arc where he abandons family, wants to be left alone, wants to seek out his mother, finds his mother, and then movie Shazam is in Luke was killed off. Is this? Oh yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. You're right. Now I get what you're trying to say. Now you're right. His hero and his idol, which was Superman, doesn't get killed off in this movie, whereas Luke gets killed off, and there's no one to look up to. Yeah. Well, again, Star Wars has this weird stuff about killing off their mentors. So it happened to Yoda. It happened to Obi-Wan. So I think they're just trying to create this the same, like, mimic. Like, they're just trying to mimic other movies and other things. This movie and this trilogy was never its own thing to begin with. It was always trying to either mimic to be too close to the original, and then mimic and then invert everything. Hi, Rhodes Rants. Rhodes Rants is here. I didn't see Rhodes Rants. But yeah, hey, Stormtrooper Babe, by the way, thanks for joining me. Guy Harrison and everybody, thank you guys for joining me. I don't know if you caught the whole thing, if you want me to say the whole thing all over again. Unfortunately, I don't know if I have the energy to do it. But the whole point is I'm trying to compare both Rey and Billy Batson's characters, because I believe that there's a lot of similarities to them. Their motivations were realized the same, were realized completely different, and that's the difference between them. Billy never became Billy could have gotten his powers from Shazam, and he could have been pure of heart. He could have been great at his powers right away, and could have defeated the villain in the first act, and then you would have had no movie after that. If once they first met each other, just defeat him right away. But that doesn't happen. It takes several attempts to beat him, and in the end, he still can't beat him on his own. He needed help. Whereas her character, she has one moment where she gets knocked bit with him before she realizes, but then without any real explanation, she learns the Force and does this moment where she breathes, and then the Force comes flowing into her, and suddenly she's a Super Saiyan defeating. She's like uber powerful, beating and they give the only motivation for why she wins is the little hitch side to the shot to the side, which wasn't good enough of a motivation. He shouldn't have even needed his lightsaber to beat her. You know what I mean? He stopped the lightsaber blast with his hand. He could have just stopped her, froze her like that, and just toyed with her and hit her against a few trees, and that would have been it. He shouldn't have even had to actually fight to win. Like Darth Vader was only humoring Luke in the second movie. He just wanted to test him to see what he had. He just kept throwing stuff at him as a test to see where he was. He was never a real threat to Vader, and Vader could have probably handled him in the first 5 seconds, but he just wanted to see what his son had, and wanted to tell him his family secrets. But again, I'm going like I just feel like people have to start realizing that when like people go to see Shazam, they say it was so silly and it was such a silly little premise, and the movie was silly, and the costumes were silly, and there was so much weird cheesiness in that movie. Yeah, Darth was trying to turn Luke, but he wanted to test him first, right, to see where he was, and that's why he's tossing stuff at him and to see where he was with his sword capabilities and all these other stuff. He could have probably, defeated him in the first little, few minutes if he wanted to. At least that's what I thought was going on. That's what I thought was the thing. But like in this whole Shazam thing, it's like you got a silly premise, a silly, goofy kind of movie, and yet at two moments in this movie, I actually sincerely felt sad. And this is the whole thing. It was a comedy. It was funny and silly, and it really was good at the comedy. It was really good. But you know what I mean. It was a cheesy factor in this movie was high. But there was two very powerful moments in this movie which choke you up. And the first is when he finally does find his mother, and that moment actually pays off. And that moment pays off with sincere inner sort of like emotion, like swell. You felt that when he sees his mom and you see him going, I found you here, and he gives her the compass that he's been holding his whole time to give to her because that's what he got him lost in the first place. Guy Harrison says maybe Darth was wearing Luke down to make him weaker so he'd be easier to turn. Really, we don't know what his motivation was. It's just our own interpretation. So if that's it could be. I'm not going to dispute anybody's interpretation of it, right? So that's I always thought that he was trying to just test him. But if you say that you thought he was just wearing him out, could be. It could have been. Join me, and together we will. What does he say? Take over. I know he says go against the Emperor. But I love that moment. That's a great, powerful sequence right there. Because they built. See, another thing in that movie, they built the actual hate in Luke. You could feel the hate in Luke. You felt that his mentor, the actual person that he looked up to, was Darth Vader. Darth Vader, he had several reasons to hate Darth Vader. He was told Darth Vader killed his father. Reason number one. He runs the Empire. The Empire and the Stormtroopers burn his family. Number two, his mentor that trained him, that gave him a purpose, a new purpose, dies at his hands by his lightsaber. And that's three reasons to hate him. And then like just the constant struggle with him. The kidnapping of Leia, all that stuff. Reasons to hate him. And then he tries his ass off to face off against him because that's all he wants is hate. And then when he goes into the cave of shadows, or when he meets Yoda and Yoda, he goes in. You see his hate. His hate for Vader is extremely strong. And so when he goes into that cave, that's why he faces off against Vader. It's that's in that scene. And so that all culminates to that one moment where you sense his anger, you sense his hate, you sense how much he cannot stand. And that's why Yoda said he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready because he still had too much hate in his heart. And so he goes in there, and he wasn't ready because his training wasn't done. There's a few reasons. He goes to face off against Vader, and then bam, he's up against his worst nightmare. He's up against the person he hates the most in the world. And he wants to show him, he wants to take him down so bad. And the payoff comes when that villain is way more powerful than you probably thought, because he was almost shell-shocked. But then the realization that I am your father, like the guy you hate is a person now you have to love. Yeah, it's like the conflicting emotions in Luke and how he sold that. Like that was probably the best acting he did in that entire series. Was that face of, I don't believe you. You killed my father. No, I am your father. Right? That whole moment was so impactful because of how they built the hate in Luke. And so now Luke had to embrace love. So that was kind of And in fact, actually, if you really think about it that way, and I'm just it kind of came to me just now. If you actually think about it, that moment, that Darth Vader says, "I'm your father," saves Luke. He actually saves Luke's life, because I'm just thinking about this now. Maybe I'm just late to the party here, guys, because it's funny because it just shows you how deep that moment is, because I'm just realizing something new about it. Had Darth Vader never said, "I'm your father," and just left Luke to not know, his hate might have actually overwhelmed him, and he might have actually turned into Anakin. And because he said, "I'm your father," gave Luke now a moment to think about the possibility of loving his own enemy, and that turned his wheels. And now he had the confliction in his mind, and he had an actual real choice. Should I love, or should I choose love, or should I choose hate? And I think Darth Vader doesn't say that. And again, I might be late to the party. Maybe everybody else says, "Duh, yeah." Where were you this whole time? But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, his dad. I think Vader saves Luke, saves his soul. I mean, by actually telling him that he's his father. That's what I think. Yeah, I did. You say, I didn't believe it until Return of the Jedi, or saving his dad. Yeah, he saves his dad, but I think he saved him first. He saves Luke first. So you think that he's defeating Luke, but he's actually saving Luke. Maybe he didn't mean to save Luke, but he's actually saving Luke by revealing who he was. He didn't have to reveal who he was. He could have just taken him. He could have just taken him, wrapped him in a blanket, send him to the Empire at his feet, and said, "Here you go. He's yours now. Do what you want," and then walked away. But he says, "I am your father." So that's an interesting point. But anyway, again, the whole moment that I'm mentioning this is because how something is executed so well that even after all this time, you could still come and find new meaning in it, and how powerful and important that moment was. I agree. I'm saying Luke motivation after knowing. Yeah, his motivation after knowing, changed. It went from, I don't want to hate and kill Darth Vader anymore. I want to save Darth Vader. I want to save my father. So it just became, that's where he actually made the decision to turn to the light. After that, there was no turning back for him. There was very little moment of weakness, even in the throne room scene at the end of Return of the Jedi. There was very little moment. I don't think there was like a half a second only when he was trying to protect Leia that he turned dark, like where he actually contemplated the darkness because he wanted to protect his sister so bad. But that was really the only real moment of weakness that he had. And then even that was short-lived when he tossed his lightsaber. He says, "You're not going to win this because I love my father and I'm choosing love." Isn't that just wonderful how we all just choose love? Where anyway, back to Rey. Rey doesn't have anything, and it's when you have three directors, no real plan for a character, and then you would change her motivation from parents to the Force to trying to join the fight against what do you call evil or whatever, and then you say you have that, and then it turns to back to the parents again, and then but nothing she ever does actively. She's never actively searching for her parents. She's never actively searching for her purpose. She just passively She's just passively there, waiting for her purpose to find her. And again, maybe there is some character in that in itself, but it's such a hard thing to accomplish, because it has to be sort of cut and dry, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're going to try to turn its head around, we're saying her purpose is no purpose, and therefore her purpose is to seek her purpose. And again, too many words that say too much purpose in that sentence. But then you have to execute that really well. You have to execute that really well to actually make that stick. Because in no way because it just changes too often and it's too convoluted. And in the end, it's not really, I never got the sense that her motivation was no purpose. I never felt like she was a lost soul. So if her purpose was the fact that she has no purpose and to find purpose, then I want to see her feel that. You understand what I mean? Like, she has to sort of feel like she's lost and empty. and that she feels like she doesn't know where she belongs. But feel it. Make us feel it. Make us, the audience, feel that that's what your motivation is. But I even don't get that sense. I never get that sense because they don't really. She's always happy. She's always smiley. She's always jokey. She doesn't moment of sadness. She just kind of goes just like a block of wood through life doing nothing. Well, yeah, her purpose is to have no purpose. Sorry. Well, think about it. I think that was the intent, is her purpose is to have no purpose. Is that, sorry, not her purpose is to have no purpose. Her purpose is to find purpose. My favorite Stormtrooper Babe says, my favorite Darth Vader moment is you, Shaney, doing him drunk phone calling. I let fan addicts of film see those videos for the first time, actually, because they're like old. Before I was even Shaney Entertaining, I have those videos, those comedy videos up of drunk Vader. And he died laughing watching them yesterday. He never saw them either. He kind of convinced me to go to my old stuff and make compilation videos and put them up. So I'm gonna do that soon. I'm gonna be posting some compilation. So I'm gonna have a whole Darth Vader, a drunk Vader series up, which is pretty funny. If you want to check it out, go check it out. Joint Specialists, how's it going? How you doing? Welcome to my my live chat. How are you? Let me know if you want me to catch you up. If you've been here the whole time, I don't know. But yeah, we're talking some Rey versus Shazam and the motivation, and how I feel like they both had similar motivations. Both needed to find their parents. The only difference was one actively searched for the parent, one never did. One sat around waiting for someone to find her. And so my whole thing was Rey's motivation was to find purpose, and she still has never found purpose. And again, that never is realized, because when she's trying to find purpose, you have to make me feel like she's somehow missing out on that. Sorry. So I'm gonna try. Sorry, I know I'm trying to catch people up in a really hard way, but the whole point is, is that Rey never actively seeks out her motivation, which was to find her parents, whereas Shazam actively, the whole movie long, tries to find his parents, and that makes him an interesting character, whereas Rey never actually does it. And the whole thing was like, this whole thing I'm trying to investigate in my head is whether or not they were trying to create Rey. Her motivation for Rey is that she needs her purpose. Like, she doesn't have purpose. And so that is her character, is that she doesn't have purpose and that she seeks out purpose. But I never feel like that hinders her in any way. I never feel like everything Star Wars, like the stream, save the dream. That's right, man. That's right. Like, I never actually feel like her purpose, if that's the case, because I do believe, I now believe that her purpose is to find her purpose. But if that is her purpose, you still have to feel that. You have to feel that inside, that she's missing something that she doesn't have. That without her purpose in life, without this lack of purpose, that her life changes in any way, that it matters to her. Like, she like, you know what I'm saying? That feeling of desire to find purpose, so that when she actually does finally find it, we care. But we don't. There is nothing in her character, in her writing, in anything that shows that Rey cares about anything. She doesn't seem to really show passion. And that's the word. That's the word. Passion for something. Passion for whatever it is you're seeking, whether it's your father, whether it's your parents, whether it's revenge, whether it's even purpose itself. There has to be passion in it for us to want to follow you on this journey. And we're outsiders. We're watching this. We're watching this, and we want to see. And what draws us to the character is the passion the character shows. And if the character can't show passion, then we can't really follow, or like, we were not going to follow along. It's like, for those people who love anime, Naruto, he's got passion. He wants to be Hokage. He wants to be, that's his dream. And he never stops telling everyone every 5 seconds, I'm going to be Hokage, even though it's the still silliest idea because he's a numbskull and he wants to be the leader of the ninja clan that he's in. Everyone's keeps saying you're a fool, you're a fool the whole time. But that's his motivation, and he doesn't waver on it the whole time. That's what his motivation is. Rey has from his father, her parents, and then does nothing. Does not even seek it out. Never seeks it out. And that's what I have to say about all that, because, and I feel that's also the same thing with Captain Marvel's character. Captain Marvel, she has no purpose. What is your purpose? What is your desire? What are you trying to accomplish here? Your accomplishment was, I was part of this group, and I did what I was told. And then after, the movie goes on, and then I find out that they're bad, and now my purpose is to, it's to what? What is it your purpose for? Like, where was she never shows emotion, and passion for anything. And when your character doesn't show passion or emotion for something, like, for instance, I'll give you an example of Captain America. Captain America, the first one, he is a little kid who has no strength. He's weak, but his passion is still to protect his country and to protect his loved ones. And even though he has no powers, and even though he's weak and his body is frail, he actively tries to defend his country. He enlists in the military and gets turned down. He's on the street and he has to fight off bullies and people like that, but he gets beaten up. He shows heart where his feelings lie, which makes him worthy of being Captain America. That's why he was chosen. He wasn't chosen because he was big and strong. He was chosen because they found his heart was worthy, and his intentions were worthy, and who he was inside was worthy of being Captain America. And that's where you said, yeah, he gets what he deserves here because of that. She doesn't have purpose. She doesn't have, I'm talking about Captain Marvel now. She's granted her purpose. I mean, so she's sort of like falls into it and stumbles upon it as she goes on through the movie. And her purpose is just to what? To say, like, oh, they were holding me back this whole time, and I don't need a man. I don't need men to realize my purpose. But she does in the end. She does. The man, if it wasn't for men in her life holding her back, they wouldn't, so it kind of flies in its own face by that nature of it. Anyway, it's just, I think it's simpler to write characters than what they're making it out to be. You don't have to have convoluted premises. You don't have to have convoluted schemes and hidden scrolls, and you don't have to have Shazam proves it. A simple story with a simple, and Star Wars is a simple story as well. It's a simple story. It's a story about a boy who just wants to be more than just a farmer, and he wants to realize his roots. And it develops. His story develops, and his passion develops as it goes on. It changes and morphs, but he seeks it out every time. And that's the truth in reality. Your reality is you're never going to have the same motivation when you're a kid. When you're a kid, you act silly. What do you say? What do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an astronaut, mommy. And then you grow up, and then you realize that that's maybe not attainable, or something changes, and then what do you want to be now when you're 12 or when you're 13 or later on in your life, and you go, I want to be a male stripper. I don't know. Whatever their motivation is when you grow up, that's what they want to be. With Dreams Beyond Tachi Station, I don't know Tachi. What's Tachi Station? Beyond Tachi Station. I don't know what that means. You have to describe that one for me, joint specialist. Yeah, not sure what Rey's passion is. Everything Star Wars says. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Rey never actually displays passion. She goes along. She waits for people to do things. She's waiting for Rey to train her. She's waiting for. It's consistently like going along with the flow. Maybe if I meet Kylo Ren, he'll give me my passion. And again, she doesn't. She goes. That's her only thing she actively does, which was sort of misguided. And her only actual mistake, but she never pays for that mistake because she comes out scot-free. Not that she has to necessarily lose a limb, but she has to lose something, you know. But she definitely goes out kind of stronger than she comes in. And there's like no moment to really pause other than your parents are nobodies and you're a nobody. And then she look inside you, you know this to be true. And so then if she could have looked inside herself to know this to be true, she didn't need that moment. She could have just meditated for a while to figure it out. And what kind of bothers me is that where Shazam actively goes and sees his mom like this trailer park trash who just, I had you, I wasn't ready for you. I saw you with the cop when you got lost, and I just sorry. It's nothing really matters. Sorry, joint special. You say to get power converts, to get power converters. Luke wanted to go there, but had to clean those darn droids. Yeah. Okay, now I know what you're talking about. Okay, yeah, I didn't clue that in. Yeah, Tachi Station. Now I remember. So Luke was supposed to open business with his buddy. That's what he was going to do. Well, even that in itself shows passion. Even that in itself shows that even without going to the Force, he had a motivation. He was always trying to be more than just a farmer, and that's perfect. Whereas you don't get the sense that Rey was going to be anything more. Like, okay, let's just take everything out from the movie. Let's take the fact that Finn meets her in the desert, that she meets BB-8. There's these accidents that happen. Let's take those things out of the movie. What does she want? What is she going to do? If none of those events that sort of happen to her accidentally, miracle-wise, see, even you could make the agreement that the point that Obi-Wan was on the planet to keep an eye on Luke. So they were always going to meet at some point. This was something that was always going to happen. So, but these were just sort of accidents. The BB-8 happened to be there. Everything just happened to be there. Nothing was there on even from the story-wise. Nothing was there on purpose. It was just sort of happenstance and ex machina. So let's take all those moments out of her life. What is her daily routine? That's it for the rest of her life. She says, I'm waiting for my parents. So she tells you she's passively waiting for something that she wants. She doesn't actively go seek out their names. She doesn't look in the phone book for them. She doesn't ask the guy the portions guy. She doesn't ask him like any questions of like, where's my parents? Do you know where they can go? Do you think I can meet them? Where do you think I could find them? She doesn't try to do any of that. And then so her whole daily life is just like bland. I'm just going to eat my rice cakes by the foot of, with this little helmet. I'm just going to scavenge. This is my whole daily routine. And I'll probably do this till I'm an old woman on a rocking chair on the desert, because that's pretty much what they gave me the impression. Until all these like things happened, she was never going to be anything. And you can make that same argument with Anakin as well, which, again, those movies aren't great, so you don't want to put them up against that movie, because he also was just a kid going through his daily life. He does have a dream. And again, there's a difference. Anakin had a dream. He wanted to be a pod racer. So again, there's that. There's at least some motivation to be something. And Rey doesn't even have motivation to say, what was your dream, Rey? Well, I'd like to own my own rice cake shop. There's no motivation for her other than to passively wait for something. And she's just a poorly written character from the beginning. And it's sad, because she has potential, and it's not that hard, man. And that's what really gets me. And that's why when I saw Shazam, I'm like, look at how simple it is. Look at how simple it is to make someone care for something. 2 moments in Shazam where I actually choked up. 2 moments, because they gave him 2 stories. One where he's looking for his family, one where he's looking for his mother, and the other one is where he doesn't accept family until he doesn't solve his story arc until he realizes the first part of his challenge, which is to figure out where his parents came from. The second part of his challenge is to accept family. So he has to get one before he can find the other, and both get realized in a satisfying way, whereas she has 0, none. Stormtrooper Babe says, I agree. I think most people don't know what they want to do in their life. They just go with the flow and see what comes up. Yeah, that is true. That is true. But see, we go to movies to be inspired. And these characters, to a degree, we don't want to see ourselves in these characters. Ourselves as we could just look in the mirror. We could wake up and say, I'm just floundering about. Movies are there to inspire. And these type of movies especially. Like when you're talking about Harry Potter, or we're talking about, these kind of adventure movies and these kind of action movies. These movies are to inspire us. And these movies are important to inspire us. They help motivate us. They help. When we look at Luke, we say to ourselves, I want to be this too. I want to be this too. I want to be something. In my life, it may not be, this, but it'll be something else. And I can relate to that. And then it'll push me to be something more than I am. So when the object of Luke isn't to reflect us. The object of Luke is to push us beyond who we are and who we think we are and what we think we could be. So when we say, well, Rey is what? She's a reflection of us. Again, that's why she's not liked. We don't want to see our reflection, because a lot of us want to be more, but don't know how to do it. And these guys guide this. So yeah, we are all looking for purpose. Hell, I'm on YouTube. I'm still looking for purpose. And I've had multiple purposes in my life. But when I look at movies, and when I was a kid, I turned on, these are the movies when I was a kid that I used to watch a lot. For motivation, actually. And I don't know if you guys did it. If you did it, please let me know, because these are important things. That's why movies to me are really important. And I think that's why we attach ourselves so strongly to characters and to movies, because they built us up and they helped carry us through tough times. I know a lot of people who said that Luke Skywalker saved their life in some way. And for me, whenever I was down, I'd watch Secret of My Success from, Michael J. Fox was my idol. I watched Secret of My Success. I'd watch Tom Cruise in Top Gun. These were movies that when I watched, they motivated me to be better. I don't want to see myself in not even myself, but even a weaker version of myself, because at least I have motivation. I have a passion. I have a goal. And now to say, well, Rey is just like some people who may not have passion. They may not have a goal, and they want to, but they're saying it's okay to not have passion, to not have a goal. And it's okay to just flounder around and not know where you want to be. And there's nothing wrong with that, if that is what your life is like. But I think what motivates us, what keeps us going, is the drive. It's like we could wake up and be in a day-to-day life, day-to-day grind. Wake up, go to work, come home, go to sleep, eat, go to sleep, rinse and repeat. Wake up, go to work. But those things alone, which is what Rey's doing. Rey is doing that, right? Wake up. Now, what Rey is teaching us is that to just keep doing your day-to-day routine. Go eat your rice cakes. Sit by the foot of the tauntaun. Go get your portions. Go scavenge for your food. Those are the things we can relate to. But what we want, what's inside of us, what drives us to keep wanting to motivate, to do more, to be more, is the hope that we'll be something greater, is the hope that something will happen. But what she teaches us is that she just passively waits and then it'll magically appear for them. I don't think that's a proper message. I think the proper message should be, yes, things could sometimes appear and out of nowhere and build. That does happen. I'm not saying that's impossible to happen. It's probable that could happen. However, and I know because we're talking about certain things about positivity, and positivity attracts good things in your life. Keeping an optimistic view does attract things into your life. But the other part, that's only part of it. The other half of that is you actually have to actively pursue it. There's two parts to it. There's positivity and waiting for it to come, but it will never come if you don't actively pursue it as well. They both have to come at the same time. So if she's actively pursuing something in her life, and then comes the magical or you know, happenstance thing that gives her the purpose. They go hand in hand, but she doesn't actively pursue anything. Nor do we ever get the motivation or the thought process that, or the impression that she even has a dream, or that she even has anything other than to sit and wait for her parents. And then what happens? Let's say her parents did come down, and then her parents came down on a ship and said, "Oh, hey, we've been waiting for you this whole time. Oh, you're still here waiting? Why are you still here? We abandoned you. Sorry. It just, yeah, I know. We just couldn't deal with you. It was just we were too young when we had you. We were, you know, but hey, looks like you're doing well for yourself. See you later." And then that's exactly what happened to Shazam. So let's just say that exact moment happens to her, and before she meets Finn or any of that stuff, now we're left with, what is she going to do with the rest of her life? What is she going to do? She never shows anything. They never have her actively pursue anything else. So she was just going to go and flounder around in circles. Anyway, that's what I think. I do think we look for inspiration in characters, and when a person is too reflective of us, it also kind of it's something that we don't like. You know, we don't need. I think it's escapism is what we're looking for in movies, and these, especially in fantasy films and sci-fi films and stuff. Escapism is what we're looking for. If we want realism, we take a look at the news, and we can see how much realism we have that we don't want to deal with. So I think that's where I'm going to leave it off, actually, guys, because that's a high note, and it's a good moral to end with. So yeah, so on that note, I'm just going to say that it's not a hard thing to do, to add a little bit of character, a little bit of drive, a little bit of motivation. It's all we really need. It doesn't need to be a lot. It doesn't need to be huge. Marty McFly wanted to be a rock star. And then through that dream of wanting to be a rock star, and then a bunch of things happened to like, and he wanted a better parents. He wanted a better family. Like he wanted to be a rock star because he felt like his parents were nobodies, and he was kind of ashamed of his parents. And then so he realizes he doesn't realize his dream of being a rock star, but he does realize his dream of getting better parents. And he actually helps push that along. So anyway, that's all I'm going to end it with there, guys. So thanks for watching. Thank you guys for appearing. Everything Star Wars. Everybody should go subscribe to these channels. Everything Star Wars. Joint Specialist. Do you have a channel? I don't even know if you're still there. If you are, go check them out. Go check out, well, Stormtrooper Babe. Are you making videos anymore? I don't even know if you're doing. I haven't seen you. You haven't talked in a while. We should talk more often. Anyway, so anyway, I'll just say goodbye, and because I'm rambling here, and then when I start becoming a rambling man, I get repetitive. So thanks for watching, and I guess I'll see you guys later. Don't forget to subscribe to Shani Entertaining if you haven't already done that, and hit the notification bell, because this way you'll know whenever I'm on to give more pearls of wisdom. These wonderful pearls that I know you guys look forward to so much. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.